I became an adult after childhood a long time ago and continued the patterns that I picked up from that time, and they stopped working for me. And that's when the suffering started happening, and yet I continued and continued. That's the insanity that I was talking about. The same thing over and over again, wishing that a different result would happen. Relationship after relationship, costing that peace, costing that harmony, costing that truth.
From the Big Island of Hawaii, welcome to Aloha Speaks, home of Malama Aloha Pono by Alexander Noman, offering relief for all relationships with a focus on anger assessment and resolve.
Aloha, Alex here with Aloha Speaks once again. And today, the topic is the point. And as usual, I have parentheses after, and inside there is one word, capital I, capital S, is. A couple ways to look at that. The point is. I am not all that good at getting direct to the point. Sometimes, a lot of times, I beat around the bush. The point is the is. The way I started out with my notes is that what the point is not, because I talk about suffering. And the point is not suffering. It seems like maybe sometimes that's what it is. It's because the suffering comes from resisting the is. It's about ending the suffering. That's the point. Especially the needless suffering that is such a waste. It's the time is ticking. Any amount of suffering that is needless is time wasted. It's not, cannot rewind. It's not coming back to redo. And again, the point being that suffering that I create, especially it's unconsciously. I don't even know that it's me doing it because I make a mistake. I misinterpret by in that illusion. I misinterpret it as that I am being the victim, when in reality the action, the actual reality is that the behavior, I'm behaving as a perpetrator. Even if it's passively, that doesn't make a difference. I'm not a victim. I'm actually doing the damage myself, claiming, poor me, that I'm the victim, creating my own suffering. What a tragedy. This is going on for a lifetime. Talk about waste. And I am not only not conscious of it, it's happening over and over, ongoing. Denying it. It's not to say that there are not truly victims. There are such a thing as victims. That's a tragedy in its own self. That's not what's being talked about here. It's not even to say that I have not truly been in a victim position in my life. For example, as a child. I have. And at that time, the subconscious has played a role in putting me in a survivor mode. It has been helpful, that subconscious, that unconscious, and helped me. I'm not talking about that either. I'm talking about I'm an adult. I became an adult after childhood a long time ago and continued the patterns that I picked up from that time, and they stopped working for me. And yet, and that's when the suffering started happening, and yet I continued and continued. That's the insanity that I was talking about. The same thing over and over again, wishing that a different result would happen. Relationship after relationship, costing that peace, costing that harmony, costing that truth. So, in Malama Aloha Pono, there's an opportunity. See, it's that pie. So, 6 segments. The point. Honesty, segment 1, where there's an admittance that goes on. Okay, there is an issue here. There's something going on. It's a segment of its own that it has many onion layers, maybe uncountable onion layers, because it continues and continues to grow the depth of that honesty. So it's a segment of its own that is ongoing. There's a lot to it. Same with listening. To even get the basics down for listening took me 2 years of practice just to get the basics down. Learning to listen and listening to learn. That's a segment all of its own. Honesty is required for that segment to develop on its own. I'm not getting into it. That's segment 2. The assessment being the third segment of the pie. The assessment on a daily basis, confronting or looking at that ego, that how the mind tricks me. Not getting into it. It's a daily growth, it continues. That honesty and that listening, all a part of that segment. The fourth segment being the subconscious playing a role and becoming familiar with what is that about, because it started in childhood. Not getting into it. It's an ongoing growth and revelation. And then that making right, when it becomes clear that there has been and continues to be this damage that occurs in relationships, ongoing, unconsciously. But once it comes to the consciousness, it's like, let's set matters straight. Go that extra mile. There is such an incredible intimacy, not just to the other people in my life, in my family, in my friends, in my loved ones, and my significant other, with my own self, in that making wrongs right. And that last segment I have not even mentioned yet, that sixth segment, that is the most difficult. Simple. That self-love. What that even looks like. It's not complicated, but it is difficult. That self-love. So, the point is the is. It already is. And in that, it's a gift that exists in such a state of peace within that I can do no other higher good for the world, definitely for myself, than to be in touch with that. Until next time, aloha. And to close, clicking on the thumbs up icon supports Aloha Speaks, as well as clicking on the free subscribe tab. Mahalo.